right, good afternoon, everyone. Let's get started. We hope you've been enjoying your Oktane experience so far. My name is Salman Ladha, and I'm on the product marketing team here at Okta. And I'm very excited to welcome you to this breakout session on the technology you have no doubt heard of by now if you've been at Oktane, passkeys. Yeah. Now, I'm sure as you've seen in many other sessions, we do have a safe harbor slide that we need to cover. As this is a product-focused session, our legal team wants us to be very explicit that there will be some forward-looking statements that we make in this presentation, and they do not represent firm obligations as priorities and timelines for Okta can change. But wait, it's a 2-for-1 special today, because in addition to that disclaimer, the legal team would like us to express to you that the information presented in this session is just that. It's informational and should not be considered advisory in nature. And so with the legalese out of the way, let's change things up and start with a fun game. Yes, you heard me correctly. Because we recognize it's been a jam-packed Oktane for you, where a lot of information has come your way. And so before we get into the nuts and bolts of passkeys, we're going to kick things off with an elimination challenge. Now, if you haven't played this type of game before, don't worry. The objective is simple. Your goal is to be the last person standing. Now, hopefully you cued in on that, because my first ask of all of you is if you are physically able, please stand up. You can also participate by putting your hand up, but it's more fun if you can stand up. Thank you. Now, the way that this is going to work is I'm going to flip through the slides, and you're going to see some prompts show up. Now, I'll also narrate it for you. And your job is to simply answer yes or no to the questions on the screen. Easy enough, right? But remember, there's a catch. This is an elimination game. And so the rule is, if you respond yes to the question, okay, if you respond yes, you will be asked to sit down or put your hand down, and unfortunately, you will be eliminated from the game. If you respond no, you stay standing and advance to the next round. Last people standing, last people with their hands up, win the game. What do we get? You win thunderous applause. Who doesn't want that? You ready? We'll start off easy. Do you love passwords? I am so relieved no one sat down. If you did, it's OK. It's a judgment-free zone. Next question. Have you ever abandoned an online experience because of passwords? You either forgot yours, didn't want to put up with tedious policies. I see some folks dropping. Oh my God. It just took one person to sit down. Incredible. This is also giving me a lot of relief, and you'll see why in later slides. All right, next question. This one's time-bound. In the past year, have you had to submit a password reset ticket? Obviously, we can't go for your whole life, because, who hasn't? We see some people dropping. All right, I'm excited about this next question. Abhishek, you know what it is. And I want to reiterate one thing. This is a judgment-free zone. And importantly, there are no bad actors in this room, OK? That much I am sure of. So, do you currently reuse passwords for your online accounts? Be honest. Be honest. I see you. It's OK. Candidly, I should be sitting down too right now, which is kind of embarrassing given that I'm talking about passkeys. But if you are still standing, congratulations, everyone. Let's give our winners a round of applause. We're taking notes on your amazing security hygiene. So why the fun game? It's a really interesting vantage point for me when I look out into this audience, because this is not a random sample of the population, right? We are all in this industry. And the situation is, every single one of the challenges that you see on the screen here are legitimate challenges businesses and consumers have to deal with on a daily basis, right? They're challenges that create friction in the user experience and in many cases introduce security issues. Our position here at Okta, like many of our peers in the industry, is that passkeys have the potential to make many of these problems go away. And they can actually set a new standard for consumer authentication online, so that next year or in subsequent years, every single one of us stays standing at the end of the game, and we're all winners. And so in this presentation, there are three main things that we'd like to cover. The first is by touching on the market context behind passkeys. What problem are they solving, and why are they so important? From there, we're going to give you a deep dive into the technology itself and cover some of the benefits behind passkeys. And last but not least, as this is a product-focused session, we are going to be bold and do a live demo. Now, those of you who have done live demos, you know, please cross your fingers and toes. Pray that nothing goes wrong, but we do have videos as a backup. But it's important for us to showcase some of the critical user journeys we've thought of when building the product and walk you through the logic behind the design. Now, I'm sure some of you are sitting there thinking, you know, we've been here before, right? We've talked about passwordless. Why is this time any different? In order to answer that question, we need to establish some important market context. Because about a year ago, something happened in our industry that caught everyone's attention. In fact, I had peers outside of security reaching out to me directly saying, hey, have you heard about this? Like, yes, I have. It's awesome when identity becomes mainstream. The headline was Apple, Google, and Microsoft, in collaboration with the FIDO Alliance, jointly announced their support towards a passwordless future. And passkeys was this new revolutionary technology that would usher in the new era. Now, this was a big deal for two main reasons. The first is if you think about the level of distribution that these three vendors have, they are the three main consumer technology ecosystems. Reach into your pocket right now, you've likely got a device issued to you by Google, Apple, and Microsoft. The fact that there was consensus on a standardized approach to solving this problem is groundbreaking, and it's why from an adoption perspective, we're very excited about passkeys. The second thing that these announcements signal is how urgent and pervasive the problem of password-only authentication really is. I'm sure every single one of you sitting in the room knows this to be so true. Passwords are one of the biggest problems we have to deal with on a regular basis. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about a customer identity scenario where the end user is a consumer, or a workforce identity scenario where the end user is an employee. In both cases, passwords are a weak link in the security chain, they ruin the user experience, and they introduce costs in the form of password reset tickets. But of course, I don't want you to just take my word for it, so let me marinate you in some recent data. Here at Okta, we conducted some primary research and found that 43% of consumers will abandon an online experience due to a clunky login process. And if you dig deeper in that data, a very commonly cited reason for this are passwords. 43% of lost revenue due to an arbitrary string of characters. According to the latest Verizon Data Breach Investigations report, we know that 49% of breaches involve the use of stolen credentials. And this lines up as we're seeing the number of phishing attacks on consumers increasing. And finally, costs. Our friends over at Forrester found that businesses who rely on call center-based password resets will spend anywhere from $15 to $20 per ticket. Lower conversions, weaker security, and more costs. And let's put this in the context of our current environment. Consumer expectations are through the roof, the threat landscape is evolving, and a company's bottom line is more important than its top line. Because passwords were the base layer that we are operating off of, as many of you know, over the years, we've tried to augment them with solutions like multi-factor authentication. And let's call this out right off the bat. An account with MFA is far more secure than one without MFA. And the fact that we're seeing businesses like Marriott, Aeroplan, Twitter, now X, actually enforce MFA as a hard requirement on us consumers in order to use their apps is a clear indication of its proven merits. But there are some challenges that we need to think about, particularly in a customer identity scenario. The first is when implemented unintelligently, MFA can introduce friction to the user experience and negatively impact your conversion rates and even subsequent retention. The second thing to call out here is that bad actors are taking note of the fact that MFA adoption amongst consumers is on the rise, and they're actively targeting it. If you tuned into our recent State of Secure Identity session today, or if you look at our report, we're seeing that the number of MFA bypass attacks are on the rise. So these bad actors will either guess just the one-time SMS code, or they'll deploy a fatigue attack in which they'll issue challenge after challenge after challenge to frustrate a user into granting unauthorized access to an application, only for it to be taken over them. And finally, once again, costs. Running an MFA program can be costly. Service providers can charge up to 5 cents per SMS sent for each OTP. 5 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put that in the context of the hundreds of thousands, even millions of authentication events that can take place on a platform, suddenly that number really starts to ratchet up. Now, all of this is true for traditional forms of MFA, but what about things like WebAuthn, right? Our good friend WebAuthn, a fantastic innovation that drastically speeds up the login process by taking advantage of our device's built-in biometric sensors. I use it every single day when I check my banking app. I'm sure many of you do also. Incredibly convenient once it's set up. And that's been its biggest limitation. As you're seeing on the screen here, WebAuthn has struggled with an enrollment issue. In order to enjoy its benefits, us consumers would have to enroll every single one of our devices into every application to enjoy its benefits. That little bit of friction, right, we're a picky bunch, was enough to stunt WebAuthn's widespread adoption. Now, I should also call out, in both of the scenarios that we just talked about, the root cause of the problem still exists. Right? A password is still present. So what's the solution? Well, it should come as no surprise to any of you that this is where passkeys come in. Passkeys are a password replacement that enable faster, easier, and more secure sign-up and sign-in experiences for consumers across all of their devices. There's a whole bunch of value to unpack in that statement. Based on FIDO standards, passkeys give businesses a phishing-resistant alternative to passwords while also significantly improving the end-user experience. And that's really the punchline for passkeys. Better security, better convenience. So to our friends over at FIDO, thank you so much for pioneering this. Now, oftentimes, the questions that I get are, OK, we get it, right? It's a password replacement, but what exactly are we replacing the password with? What makes it more secure, and what makes the end user experience so much better? So let's start by answering that first question. Passkeys work by authenticating users through public key cryptography instead of a password. Now, this approach is far more secure because when authenticating, no shared secret, like a password, is transferred from the user to the application server. Now, what's great is this use of cryptography is a win-win for both parties. For consumers or end users, the risk of phishing goes down because there's no password for them to fork over to a bad actor. And for a business, because you're no longer storing a password in your database, suddenly it becomes a far less appealing target for a bad actor. This unique combination is what makes passkeys more secure for you, your customers, and your business. But this is, of course, only half the picture. In a customer identity scenario, we don't just expect security, we demand convenience from the applications that we use. Make it too hard to log in or register, and we're bouncing to a competitor. Now, fortunately, all of the security benefits and complexities of cryptography are hidden behind the scenes. From an end user's perspective, using a passkey is as easy as unlocking your device. And once created, that same passkey can sync across all your devices in the same ecosystem. And if you're an individual like myself, where you have devices in different ecosystems, passkeys have a solution for you to continue your passwordless journey even across devices in different ecosystems. But we'll save that for the demo. What all of this means for businesses is it gives them the tools they need to create frictionless digital experiences to drive greater conversion, better retention, and greater loyalty. Now, the only way we're going to see widespread adoption of passkeys is if businesses have an easy and convenient way of offering them to their end users. And that's why, if you probably caught in the CIC or the Customer Identity Cloud keynote, we're incredibly proud to announce that as of today, passkeys are available as an authentication method in the Okta Customer Identity Cloud for all customers on all plans for free of charge. Yes. We genuinely believe that passkeys are a better, viable alternative to passwords, and we cannot wait to get this technology into the hands of our customers. But I think I've spoken enough. I think it's time to see this in action, and so it's my genuine pleasure to call to the stage the product manager responsible for building this in our product, Abhishek Ambastha.
Thank you, Salman. Hi, everyone. In today's session, we are planning to present not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 demos, which showcase different aspects of passkeys. The first demo, we will focus on the tenant admin experience, showcasing how easy it is to enable passkeys in Customer Identity Cloud. In the second demo, we will cover a common scenario, what happens to your users with passwords, how we can seamlessly transition them over to passkeys. In the third demo, we are going to showcase a quick sign-up and sign-in experience just with passkeys without relying on traditional password method. In the fourth demo, we are going to cover cross-device authentication, where I log into a device with passkeys on another device. And finally, in the fifth and final demo, we are going to see phishing-resistant aspect of passkeys. With that, let's go to our first demo. All right. What you are seeing here is Customer Identity Cloud Managed Dashboard. If you look into the left-hand side, authentication, database, passkey is available for each database connection under authentication methods in parallel to password. And as you have seen in the keynote earlier, enabling passkey is literally as easy as flipping a switch. I just toggle this button, and for this tenant, passkey is enabled. So no need for coding, no nuances of standards or implementation across devices. Moreover, because we are part of FIDO Alliance, any future upgrades or enhancements on passkey will be automatically included in this feature. So let's give it a try. On the top right-hand side, if I click on Try Connection, I see a login box with a button which says Continue with passkey, and that completes our first demo. Going to our second demo, we are going to showcase a common scenario. So what happens to my thousands and millions of users with passwords? How are they going to transition over to passkeys? And for the purpose of this demo, I have created a user with password already, which I'm going to use to log in here. So I enter the email address here. Click on Continue. Enter the password for this user. Click on Continue. And as you can see here, a user, after successful authentication, gets this prompt to enroll a passkey. And the text on this screen is customizable to meet your specific requirements, but it is focused on the end user value of moving to passkeys. In addition, if someone wants to continue using password, they can click on Continue without passkeys and go ahead with that journey. But in this case, I will click on Create a passkey. As I am on my MacBook, it prompts me for my Touch ID. And with a simple touch of my Touch ID, I just enrolled a passkey for this user, which earlier relied on traditional password method. It's as seamless as that. So let's log out and see the login experience. Go back to the login page here. Click on Continue with a passkey button. And as you can see, the passkey that I just created for this particular user, it's a smooth, seamless transition over to more secure, more convenient authentication method. I click on Continue. It prompts me for my Touch ID. With a fingerprint scan, I just logged into the system with passkeys. That completes our second demo. Now, in the third demo, we are going to cover a quick sign-up and sign-in experience using passkeys, completely removing the need for passwords. So in this particular case, I click on Login, got the login page, click on Sign Up, enter a new user email, click on Continue. And as you can see here, as a user, I have two choices. I can create a passkey, or I can continue without passkey to go with a traditional password route, opting for a faster, secure, and more convenient authentication method. I click on Create a passkey in this case. Again, it prompts me for my Touch ID here. And just with a fingerprint scan, I am able to successfully sign up a user with a passkey. In this particular sign-up demonstration, we never used password once. So let's log out this user. Go back to our login screen. And here's the magic. We have been talking about Continue with passkey button. But passkey is also available as an autofill option. Both of them are configured in your tenant configuration and enabled by default. So as you can see there, I have the passkey that I just signed up with. I click on that, provide my fingerprint, and I'm logged in. It's as simple and as seamless as that, and I'd like to emphasize, throughout this third demo, we never used a traditional password, highlighting the importance of passkey to go to a passwordless user journey. That completes our third demo. All right. In our fourth demo, we are going to cover a scenario where I'm trying to log into a website with a device where passkey is not readily available. It could be the case I'm logging to a public laptop, for example, or I'm trying to log into a different ecosystem which I have never used before. For the purpose of this demo, I have enrolled a user on my iPhone earlier, and I'll use that to log into my device on the left-hand side with cross-device authentication using QR code. So I click on Login. If we click on the email address, we have an option there, use a passkey on a different device. Additionally, if we click on Continue with a passkey button, we have an option for use a different device, and it prompts user for a QR code. I'll take out my phone, and as you can see here, it says sign in with a passkey. I click on that, And because I have registered earlier on this website on my phone, it asks me to verify using Face ID on my phone. I provide my Face ID. And with that, I am successfully logged into the screen on the left-hand side. What you are seeing here is the local enrollment option. In addition to the cross-device authentication, we also have local enrollment where we prompt the user if they want to use the second device for future login purpose, they could also create a passkey on that device. If I am on a public laptop, I could click on Continue Without, adding a new passkey on that device, and log in successfully. And as you can see, apart from sync credential, this new cross-device authentication using QR code makes passkey more valuable, more readily available to user across devices. And that wraps up our fourth demo. All right. So we are going to our fifth and final demo. For that, I will present two login boxes side by side to you, and I'll ask you to look closely into them and spot a difference. Are they identical? Are they different? Shout it out if you see that difference.
Different domain.
There you go. So what you are seeing on the right-hand side, fake app. It looks like a legitimate one that I have been using for demo purpose, but it's not. It's a counterfeit app. It is normally used for things like phishing. Well, what is phishing? In a nutshell, phishing is when a bad actor tries to deceive user to submit sensitive information on a counterfeit website for the purpose of account takeover or other malicious activities. Now, how does this relate to passkeys? We heard that passkeys are phishing resistant, and we are going to show how it is phishing resistant. So on the left-hand side is the legitimate website I have used for this demo. So if I click there on Continue with the passkey button, I see the passkeys that I enrolled, the two passkeys, one for the password-based user, the other for the passkey-only user. But when I click on the fake website, the only option I get here is the QR code. And the reason behind that is passkey is associated to a specific website, specific domain, making it phishing resistant. I cannot be tricked into submitting my passkey into a fake website. If I would be using my username password, I could be tricked into submitting those passwords, and that could lead to compromise to my account. And that completed our fifth demo. So wrapping up, here are key takeaways from today's session. We have seen, first, passkeys are viable, better alternative to passwords for consumer authentication online. Second, we have seen passkeys provide both convenience and security at the same time. Based on FIDO standard, passkeys are more secure, phishing resistant, and it could be used as seamless as unlocking your device. And third, we have seen implementing passkeys at Okta Customer Identity Cloud is as easy as flipping a switch. With that, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of you for being here. I hope that you learned a little bit more about passkeys in today's session. Here is the QR code for a quick feedback, and thank you, everyone.